Hey KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra. Thanks for logging on to KUsports.com to check it out. I'm Matt Tait. This is Tom Keegan, and this is another episode that will start with good news, bad news in the KU athletic department. The good news, very easy this week. Two things. For the football program, DeAndre Mann is not hurt. He's back. We've seen him out there at practice. That's huge. He only got one carry in that game against West Virginia, and as good as Corey Avery is, it's a lot to put on a freshman to carry the entire load. So that's definitely the good news for the football program. For the basketball program, and I know there are a lot of fans out there that like basketball, I think so. Yeah.
And a lot of reasons to like them this year.
Sure.
Lots to like.
That's right. It's late night week, though, and that's always exciting. People look forward to this like a national holiday, and it is Friday. Friday night at Allen Fieldhouse. Late night, the official kickoff of the 2014-15 basketball season. For you guys, that's exciting because I know you love looking forward to this and watching these players. For us, it's exciting because it doubles the stuff we have to cover. Another team, another roster, another coach. I mean, this is when it really gets fun, I think.
I think it's a blast when they overlap, and someday, again, we'll get to cover two teams that are doing well at the same time, as was the case in 2007, 2008, when you had the Orange Bowl and you had the national title.
Bad news. Let's go there. What is it?
Well, the bad news is that, again, a very talented opponent, a Big 12 team that outmatches Kansas talent-wise by a big margin. Oklahoma State has an excellent defense. They'll load the box, dare Kansas to pass. Kansas hasn't shown it can pass, and that's just bad news. Again, a really strong opponent for Kansas.
Oklahoma State 4-1 overall. 2-0 in the Big 12. The one loss to Florida State. That's definitely bad news. That's a pretty good team. So we'll see how they hold up. But they are at home. Maybe that's a sliver of good news on the bad news, but that's what I do. I'm that guy.
Clint Bones' first home game, and a lot of his friends and family and former players will be there rooting him on.
Yeah, that's definitely cool, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of attendance impact that has. Let's go to Clint Bowen in Lost in Translation this week.
Well, you know, we always emphasize that we are a team, that it is our team, and we're all in it together. And it's not any of that. It's always, you know, encourage and help your teammates and take care of your job. You know, I mean, until, you know, one side of the ball plays a perfect game and giving up 26 points on the defensive side of the ball is far from being perfect. Until everyone's doing something perfect, then you've always got chances to improve yourself. So, you know, everyone needs to just focus on their own world and know that we're all in it together and continue on that path.
Translation, sure, the defense has been good, but it's not the steel curtain we're talking about. This is not the purple people eaters. This is a solid defense that needs to get better. So before pointing any fingers, the only pointing that will be going on at the mirror, how can I get better?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the defense gave up 26 points still, so the offense would have to score more than that. This offense isn't anywhere near ready to score that many points. So very, very good insight from you and a very true statement from Clint Bowen. Let's talk about this breakdown street, and let's get into the game a little bit. I think there's going to be a strong case of deja vu for this team, and that
all
makes
over
sense.
Again.
Yeah, well, I'll go there. That makes sense, though, because West Virginia coach Dana Holgorsen has some Big 12 ties prior to his time at West Virginia. At Oklahoma State, a similar system. They run a similar offense, and a lot of that offense has been and will be in the future taking shots down the field. Oklahoma State's going to do that a lot this week. Doesn't matter that J.W. Walsh, their starter coming into the season, is injured. You got a pretty good guy in there right now in Dax Garman. So they're going to take some shots. West Virginia took some shots. KU held up on a few areas, in a few of those, but also was victimized some in that deep ball and down the field type of stuff. So I really think Ja'Cory Shepherd and Dexter McDonald are going to have to be as good as they were again last week, maybe even a little better to hang up in this game. And if they can be, because as you mentioned, the defense isn't perfect yet, but they have played well enough to win at times. And
they played pretty darn well because the offense keeps putting them in such horrible positions. The special teams a couple times this year put them in horrible positions. But, you know, you always want to get better, and there's some talented guys on that defense who are getting better.
Yeah, so the offense has to show up and help, and we don't know who that's going to be yet, which quarterback is going to be the guy. All three of them are getting a chance this week in practice. Montel Cozart, the starter. Michael Cummings, who played the second half last week, and TJ Millward. I watched all three of them in practice on Wednesday, and these guys are all out there trying to prove they're the reason, or they're the guy, show reasons that they should be the guy. And
the problem with Cozart, if he shows it in practice,
you don't really
he has shown it in practice before, so I wouldn't trust that. With Cummings, if you tell him to run a play, he'll run it. He'll be decisive. He'll make the right decisions, but can he execute the play?
Right.
That's the problem. He's not an accurate passer. He's not a talented passer, but he knows what he's doing.
It's a situation where if you could just take a little piece of each one of these guys and put it into one quarterback, you might have a decent guy and a guy that could go out there and be the clear-cut starter. Right now, though, not one of them is proving that he's got all of the attributes that you need. So they're in a predicament. I mean, John Reagan said on Tuesday, hey, this is rare to have a situation in the season where you're not only looking at two guys, but you're looking at three. What's the old saying about if you have two quarterbacks?
You have none.
Yeah. What if you have three?
Well, I think it's good that you're looking at Millward just because you know what you have in Cummings, and Cozart just is not ready to play quarterback in the Big 12 period. So I would make him the third string guy, make him just a developmental guy, put him all the way back to the scout team, and then you see Cummings and Millward, and if Millward can show enough and Cummings isn't moving the chains, then you just give it to him and see what he can do. Maybe he's one of those guys who's better in games than he is in practice.
Absolutely, that's possible, and when we have seen him throw the ball, he does throw a pretty good deep ball. I've seen that a lot in the spring game.
And he gets rid of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, so maybe that's what they're missing, a guy who can stretch the field and actually see that, and he's definitely the biggest in terms of stature out there of these guys. So he was really cool to talk to this week, too. He said, hey, I'm not the athlete that Montel Cozart is and that Michael Cummings is, but I'm pretty confident in my abilities and my ability to run if I have to. I'll lower my shoulder and get the first down if I have to. Great attitude. It'll be really interesting to see which one of those guys is the guy, or if they do play all three. Bowen alluded to, hey, maybe they each get a crack. You don't want to do that, but...
my guess is that Cozart won't play.
Okay.
I think it'll be Cummings and maybe Millward. I don't think you'll see Cozart.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Cummings gets the start at the very least. And
that's what I think.
We'll see how he does if he gets that. Let's move on. Prediction time. What do you have for Oklahoma State at Kansas? Who's your winner? What's your score?
Well, you mentioned it being pretty similar. I'm going to go Oklahoma State 35 and Kansas 10.
Not bad. What did you have last week? 42-10?
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty similar, not only to last week's game, but also to your
You were
pick.
very close with your pick on the West Virginia score.
I'm going to milk that a little bit longer, too. I'm going to try. I'm going to go 30 for Oklahoma State, 14 for Kansas. I think there will be such an emphasis put on improving the offense this week that they're going to find a way to get some more points. You can't get many less than they have been on offense. So I think Tony Pearson maybe will be a bigger factor, a bigger emphasis on getting him the ball. Maybe that'll
Which
open
means
up
they'll
some
hand
things.
it off to him or pitch it to him more often. That's the only sure way you can get him the ball more, and I bet you they do that.
One other interesting way, kick returns. That could very possibly factor in. So 30-14 Oklahoma State, 35-10 Oklahoma State. Who's your primetime pick for this week's game?
Well, I'm going to go with Isaiah Johnson. He has a real knack for intercepting the ball. Oklahoma State has thrown 5 interceptions this year. It's not a lot, but it's one a week. And, and it's hard to pick someone on offense when they just haven't gotten it going. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Johnson.
That's a good pick. He talked a little after that game about maybe that was the interception he needed to kind of springboard into a season more like we saw last year.
Right, when he was Big 12 Defensive Newcomer of the Year.
If that could happen, then it's an excellent pick. I am going to go on offense just because I've been so impressed with this guy in the last couple of weeks, and that's Nigel King, the transfer from Maryland. He looked so good in that game at West Virginia when nobody looked good on offense. He was sure-handed. He was strong. He picked up a crucial third down conversion that led to their first and only offensive touchdown. And then I saw him in practice this week. He was a big-time target. He drew the attention of all 3 quarterbacks, and he caught everything. I mean,
that guy gets open a lot.
Strong hands.
Yep. He dropped one bullet thrown to him by Cummings from close range, but he's got good hands, and he gets open.
Yeah, he does. He just has a knack for that. And I just think that he's physical. There are DBs hanging on him in practice, and he still gets his hands up and catches the ball. So I really think that last week might have been a mini breakthrough, and that this week we'll see just him continue to move in that direction and have a strong second half of the season, especially if they do move Tony Pearson to running back. Then they got an automatic guy to slide in to Pearson's spot at wide receiver.
These receivers are better than their numbers.
No doubt about it.
And I bet you'll see a lot of Tony Pearson at running back.
Yeah, I think so. King, 4 receptions for 52 yards last week. I think he doubles that and has a touchdown.
Doubles that?
At least the yardage. I think he's got a chance there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be a breakthrough day for the quarterback then.
It'd be a breakthrough day for me, too.
Because you'd get it right?
Yeah, why not?
Well, that's the most important thing.
Let's move on to the most obnoxious thing, unless we just saw it. I don't know. Should we just cut here?
No.
Okay.
There's worse.
Yeah, good. Like to hear that. Most obnoxious man in sports this week. Tom Keegan.
The guy I saw pictured on Deadspin making out with his wife in the Mississippi's victory over Alabama, the big upset, on the field there in Oxford, Mississippi.
On the field.
On top of his wife, making out. That's why they have doors in bedrooms. Tell me when I can look. As soon as they stop making out, I'm going to look. You don't do that out in public in front of how many thousands, tens of thousands of people? That's just not the time or the place. I'm glad you're affectionate about your wife. I assume it's your wife. The woman had a wedding ring on. But let me know, can I look yet?
You can look.
Okay.
It was a big game, though. I mean, come on, give them a little bit. They beat Bama.
No, there's a time and a place. I just am not a huge fan of PDA.
That's fair.
Know what I'm saying?
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. I'm going to go with another Alabama flavor for obnoxious this week, and that's former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron, currently with the Cincinnati Bengals, who said this week after Bama's loss, go figure, after a loss, A.J. McCarron said, I just don't think this year's Alabama team has enough true leaders. Funny that the former quarterback says that about his former team that just lost. Number one, I'm not a big Nick Saban fan, but Nick Saban said, I'm not sure how AJ would know. It's not like he's been around here lately. So
love that he said that.
I do too. Props to Nick Saban for saying that. And obnoxious, AJ. I mean, so what? Alabama doesn't have a guy who's going over and kissing his girlfriend or his mom on television after every game. That's not a leader. These guys have plenty of leaders. They're still Alabama. That was obnoxious.
As long as we're throwing bouquets to Nick Saban. Nick Saban once was appearing at a place speaking, and he said, and his wife was in the crowd, and he said, I said to my wife, honey, did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think that I could win national championships? And my wife said, honey, you're not in my wildest dreams.
Not necessarily a bouquet thrown his way, but still funny.
It was funny that Nick Saban said it.
Oh, yeah, he said it. That's right. Good point. So, well, that's all the time we have for this edition of KU Sports Extra. Thanks for checking it out, and keep checking out all our coverage of KU football and basketball. It's starting, and there's going to be tons of stuff on the site, videos, blogs, audio, all the stuff you always see at KUsports.com. We'll talk to you guys next time.